Hi, Joe here over at Willie Cottage. Good morning. Wednesday, I think somewhere about the 20 something of May. This is my fifth time starting this introduction, so bear with the dirty looks that I'm giving Scardy at the moment, because she won't settle. And I've been trying to get this intro out the way, so bear with me if I throw out some stinkers. They're not aimed at you. They're aimed at this dog that keeps scratching me and pawing at me. She's driving me potty. Okay, so back to basics, episode 10, and it's a bit more core spinning, but slightly different from what we did last week, where I used the slub and then I spun it onto a thread through the middle of it. Essentially, that's all core spinning is. It's applying a second thread or a wool or whatever it is to a yarn that's not really doing anything. It's containing all the energy that you need for that other piece of wool to stick to it, whether it be locks or a batt or roving top or cloud, which is like, it's really fine, say like you're using a mohair or an alpaca and you've pulled apart the strands and everything else of those locks to give you a nice airy cloud, and that's a really good thing to add when you're doing core spinning. And essentially what you're wanting is, when you're spinning, you want this core that you're holding in your hand to have a lot of twist in it, so it grips on, okay, onto the fibres, and it'll help lock them in place. So yeah, that's what we're doing today. And then I'll be plying it, so I get a spiral ply afterwards. You can ply it upon itself if you really want to. There's loads of applications that you can use this wool for. If you're wondering, why would I need to use this? Well, you don't need to use it, it's just a bit of fun. If you've got bits of rovings that you never needed to finish off in your stash, or you've got little mini batts or something like that, and you want something a little bit different to do, you can use it in knitting, crochet, weaving, modern weaving, tapestry weaving, if you're into doing the big textures and chunkiness. Felters, you'd definitely be able to use it in felting, because essentially it's just wool at the end of the day, so you can felt it onto landscape pictures if you want to add in some extra texture and dimension in there, sort of flowers or whatever, and especially if you're going to be using beads, and then you can add a completely different three-dimensional perspective to your landscape picture. So anyway, I do have quite a bit, it's not a big, it's a reasonable size collection of different types of reference books that I use for a wide range, everything from a tablet weaving, backstrap weaving, my loom weaving, spinning, drop spindling, and I've started collecting knitting books. That's a rabbit hole I never thought I'd ever go down. So anyway, my personal opinion, if you really love doing drop spindling and you want to take it to the next level, or you're just starting to learn or been learning how to drop spindle and you want to take it to the next degree, I would. Now, I got this book from my friend Bridie Tong, who owns Fine Yarns down in Horwich. You can find her on Instagram. She knows I always give her a plug, but you can't. She may have some of these books still in stock, but there is an online place, we shall say, we all knew who it is, where you can actually get the book. Well, it was still in stock last time I had a look anyway. So it's called, you've seen me mention this book before, it's called Yarn Spinning, okay, and it's all for drop spindles. And it gives you the basics, crux about different types of wool and wool prep and everything else to get you started, how to clean and scour in your fleece. So literally, you're back to basics, beginner's book. You're just trying out on drop spindling. You've got the gist of it. Now you want to delve into a little bit more, okay? This I would definitely recommend as a brilliant book. It's called Yarn Spinning with a Modern Twist, How to Create Your Own Gorgeous Yarns Using a Drop Spindle. And it's by a lady called Vanessa Kroening, Kroening, and it's published by 50 Search Press, okay? But if you can reach out to my mate Bridie over on Instagram, she may be able to have the copy of it still in a shop, or she might be able to point you in the right direction, or order some in. And it's $14.99 UK, US is $23.95, and Canada it's $28.95. So for a thin book, it's a bit expensive, but it's literally from beginning to end, from preparation of your fibres, talking about it, just getting you in there, wetting your toe a little bit in the world of fibre before you progress and run towards your spinning wheel. If you don't feel confident, or it's just not in your budget at the moment and you would rather really get to grips with what it is that you're learning on your drop spindle, definitely my advice. So it has loads of tips about different types of tools that you can use, blending boards, that sort of thing in there as well, how to blend your own Rolags, and then onto a drum carder. Basics, just get yourself a blending board. I made mine. You all know I made mine. So it dabbles a little bit, I think, in some colorways and how to put your colors together using inspiration from pictures. So you want to make yourself a grid reference and pick out colours in there that you think will really go well together if you want to be inspired by nature. Goes on to start talking about how to get going on the spindle, which is great, and plying it, making a skein and a niddy noddy, making your own niddy noddy in there. She gives you instructions, and then you start going on to the art yarn side of things. And it is possible to do different techniques on your drop spindle, and that's what she helps you with. So I would definitely advise you, if you can, because I don't do a lot of drop spindling myself. I'm a dab hand at it, but I prefer my wheels. I'm quite good at doing demonstrations on my drop spindle, but I've never delved down the rabbit hole of doing art yarns on a drop spindle, though I do have the implements to be able to do it. I just haven't done it. I've got far too much other stuff to be doing, especially now the sun's back out. So yeah, you can use things like your art yarns for making dream catchers, or for big chunky artisanal scarves and things. So yeah, that's definitely a book that I would definitely advise if you're into more about doing drop spindle work. Kick spindles, Turkish spindles. I think you would probably need to use a drop spindle more than anything else for doing the arty-farty types of wheels. And then the other one is obviously the famous Ashley Martineau. She delves into a little bit. This is the Spinning and Dyeing Yarn book, Home Spinner's Guide to Creating Traditional and Art Yarns. So she's got loads of tips and tricks in there. It's one of the first books I ever bought about 7 years ago from Ashley Martineau when I first started collecting her books. And you can still get a hold of these, still get these books. I think she's just brought a new edition, or this might have been the latest edition of it anyway. So yeah, definitely a good book to go for. Covers practically all the same topics in that. She even talks about drop spindles in this book, and core spinning on a drop spindle, and as well as using a spinning wheel. So if you've got both, or you're planning on getting a spinning wheel but you're still using your drop spindle, again, that's another book, and she does the same as the other one. It's just a lot more bigger, covers two different spinning topics, which is your spinning wheel and your drop spindle. So definitely another one. Right, this one is my favourite book of all time when it comes to spinning, and I will never ever part with it. This one, okay, it's the Spinner's Book of Yarn Designs, Techniques for Creating 80 Different Styles of Yarns by Sarah Anderson, and a foreword to Judith Mackenzie. Does everything, and what's even better, there's a set of cards in the back. There are quick guides to different yarns. So this is one of the other ways. I use this as a brilliant reference, or if I'm about to do a video and I just want to get my wording right, I just have a quick read through it, remind myself how I want to present what it is that I'm doing, and then I'll reference back to it through time immemorial, really. And it covers everything from crepe yarns, core yarns, novelty yarns, so adding beads and loops and all sorts into it. What else is in there? Full-on glossary of terminology, so you can break down the words. Different types of woolen worsted, different types of spinning off the fold, long folded draws, especially if you're using alpaca and those sort of fibres. Slub yarns, basic plying, using a nose pine, creating a centre pull ball, which can be an absolute headache sometimes, especially when it decides it wants to stick inside itself. Chain plying variations, different types of applications and spinning wool for like hard wearing projects. So she's got a full chapter on different spinning your yarns in different ways, so you get a harder wearing on your fibres. And this is what I was on about the other week. It's a topic we will sort of fall down into, and seeing if we can see ourselves through swatches if there's any difference. Hauser plying, two coloured hauser variations, swatches, wrapping singles, basic yarn spirals, gimp yarn, as long as I don't have to wear a black mask over my head, bouclés, loads of different ideas, finding the balance, shrink, cable yarns, all sorts of topics, 80 different types in there, and it's my go-to book for new ideas, or just trying to, if I'm watching a video and I'm like, yeah, I'm not quite getting what it is. I can see what you're doing, but it's not going on my head. Then I'll go and see if I can find it in my book, and I will go from there. So what I'm going to be doing today is spinning a basic soft core yarn, and then I'm going to ply it afterwards, okay? So here we go. I've brought out Morgana. It's the first time in ages I've been able to get this spinning wheel out. So I will get you started down here. Excuse the mess of my studio at the moment. Do you know, when you come into a bigger room and you never quite find a place for anything once you start moving stuff in or bringing more stuff in. So I've brought Morgana today. She is my Kromsky Fantasia. She's a double treadle. I do find sometimes I feel like I'm doing a marathon on her. So we're just going to get started on here, and then I will bring you in closer over this side so you can see. But the sun's over there, and it's just a perfect lighting for doing what I'm doing today. So I'm using my art flyer. I'm just going to pull them down and that down, and then pull that through there. Okay, and I'm using a batt that's been on my website for a while. It's the Andromeda batt, but because we're doing these purples and blues themes for hopefully a project we could get into later on down the line. Okay, so I'm just going to rip myself off a couple of strips. I don't want to use the entire batt because I'm just going to do a demo yarn. I'm not going to go on forever doing it. And then the next time we do this, I will do locks, which I've actually pulled out, and we'll do the same effect using locks. Okay, so it'll be slightly like a cloud. And I just want to show you that it is possible to core spin with locks, and the effects that you get, which can really, really look pretty. Still got a bit of grass in that. There's always bits of grass in my locks these days. Right, so I'm just going to pull this into a couple of little strips, so I've not got too much to work with in my hand, and I don't get into a muddle. So I'm just going to plonk that over the arm of my chair here, and another piece over my arm of the chair here, and then I'm just going to pull it apart into a little piece. Okay, it's got loads and loads of sparkle in it. You can't quite see it, but there is loads of sparkle in this. And then I'm going to get my mohair polyester blend that I was using in the last video. Okay, and the same as usual, I'm just going to tie this into a little knot round to the side. Okay, so there we go, tied a knot, that's that sorted, and I think we'll move you around so you get a closer view of where I'm at, and I'll start the spinning process. Okay, so you want to get your wheel spinning, and you're just taking off little pinches at a time. You're making sure the energy is going into your core that's in your hand, and you're just going to let that rip around. You want to really keep a grip of this yarn because it'll fly out your hand. And just take your time. Don't spin too fast. Make sure your tension's not trying to grab the wool out your hand. I'm just going to turn that down a little bit. There we go. That's a little bit easier. And hold your wool at a 90-degree angle so it just perfectly wraps in there. I will bring you in closer and drop you over to another side. And look at that. There's my wool here in my hand, and I'm literally just letting it get pulled on there. It won't look tight and wrapped around. If it does look tight and wrapped around, pull the tension down on your spinning wheel. Okay? I mean, it literally just does the work for you. All you're doing is pinching with your forefinger and your thumb, like you were doing with the slub yarn the other week, and then just dragging back the roving or your batt strip, pinch at a time. You can, I mean, if you want to go really, really thick, you go really, really thick. But for the length of what you want to use it for, I think it's just nice just doing this wafer thin sort of section for the time being. Then you've got a little bit more control over the fibre. Okay, and that is it. That's it. You just pinch it a little bit. You're having your wool at a 90-degree angle so it goes straight on. The energy in the wool is doing the work in the core in your hand, and I mean you don't necessarily have to pinch it. It'll literally come out itself because the energy that's in your core. If you feel the wool in your left hand or your right hand, your core wool is wanting to pull out, just loosen off your tension a little bit on your Scotch or on your Irish tension, okay? And if you feel like while you're doing a section, just wrap that little that cord around your little finger so it doesn't slip out your hand just while you're doing sections, because it will grip like a little adjustable noose, and you can loosen it just by wagging your finger and it'll come undone. But it'll stop the wool in the core wool from sliding too far. Think of it like a gear stick. If I just loosen my finger down, it will do the loosening for me. If I keep a hold my finger down, it won't go anywhere, you see, like that. So if I want to give myself a bit more length, move my little finger backwards, and then the yarn in my little wrapped around my little finger will move of its own accord. If I want to work with a length, because maybe I've taken too much off, clamp my little finger down and go again. I'm going to pulse it back, close my finger over, and that just gives me a little bit more control over the core yarn while I'm spinning, so I don't lose track or get overwhelmed with the speed of the yarn twisting around the core at the same time. And it means you can just take your time until you feel really confident. There we go. And I'm just going to keep doing that. I think I'm going to move my little flyer up a little bit, my hook, and go again. And I'm spinning in the Z. So I'm just going to keep doing this, and then when I pull out the other strap section in a minute, I'll get you moved over and position you so you can see me from another angle. That's it. There's not much else to it, guys. It's really quick, it's quite fun. So when you're spinning like this as well, you see the colours in your batt. It's been blended really well. You'll see all these different colours pop up that you might not see if you were just spinning the wool. Well, you would see it, but they'd be more muted together. Whereas when you're doing a core spin like this, you're getting blocks of colours popping out through the different layers of colours that should have been carded correctly from your fibre supplier or from yourself. So every so often I'm just relaxing my little finger so I can get a bit more yardage out, or a couple more centimetres or inches of my core yarn, and doing that at the same time. That's all there is to it. So I'm just going to join on my next piece. So you literally just do what you would normally do. That's that end piece. So I'm just going to let that wrap around, tease that on, and then that's it. And then carry on. '90-degree angle, see, straight in at a right angle like that. Can you see that from that angle? Let me loosen off my finger a little bit. Yeah, I mean, if you did it any other angle, you would get more of a tighter spin on the coil, okay? But by doing it this way, you're getting really lovely, fluffy sections on the core spun. This is a soft core spun yarn that I'm doing. I don't want it tight, you want it squishy looking, because this is the way that you're gonna, when you ply it again, either against itself or against a thread or another type of wool, then you can get different effects, and it will really pop out. You'll get different textures in the wool and everything else. If I carried on doing it like that, I'm literally just spinning a wool onto a thin yarn and creating, although I'm getting the blocks of colours in there, I'm creating a very thin, I might as well just spin it normally, okay? So if I come back into my 90-degree angle and do the same thing all over again. There we go. Try to do it in such a way that you can see that I'm literally doing it as a 90-degree angle and pinching with my thumb and finger and just letting that wool rest on that yarn. You can do nice big lumpy bits like that. You can do thin pieces, so when you ply it up you'll end up with loads of different sizes and sections, whether it be thin and thick and thin. Again, it's potential to another way for creating large coils and shells and beehives as well, by doing it like this, and not just the thick and thin ones that we did the other week. I'm just going to move my flyer down a little bit again and push that round. There we go. So I'm just at the end of this half now, and I'm going to reposition you so you can see from a different angle. I'm just going to coil that around my loop on my orifice, and I'll see you in a sec. I'll just note as well, if you're using a ball of wool, because sometimes it's just easier, stick in a little basket and plonk it just between your feet and a little bit further back, especially if you're using a treader wheel, and then it's out of your reach. Okay, so I'm going to get the energy going in this again, and I want the energy in the end of my core yarn. I'm going to wrap it around my little pinky like that as my gear stick, and let the energy of that core now pull at my fibre, and it's got to be 90 degrees. Got to be 90 degrees that you're doing this with your top or your batt, okay? Otherwise you just won't get the effect that you're wanting. I've got my hand back this far because I know my fibres being carded. I can feel them pulling just below my finger, okay? So I know that I'm not too close. If I go up like that, I'm definitely got a bit of resistance in that wool, so I'm now pulling at big fat chunks of wool instead of having an even draft as I'm pulling out. Okay, can you see how that's coming out so much smoother? And I will have to readjust my hand in a minute. There we go, come back a bit more because I can feel the fibres starting to tug underneath my hand. So that would, I would say, on the set, let me just stop this. I would say my grip's about maybe 8 to 10 centimeters away from the area where I'm pinching. Okay, if I went up that close, which is about about 5 or 6 centimeters from the end, I'm tugging on that, and it's really not got much give in it. Okay, if I have my hand back here, I know that my fibres, I can feel them moving underneath my fingers, but they're moving freely. Again, fingers got my wool. See how it's moving? If I keep my hand closed, that yarn doesn't want to go anywhere. So if I leave it open, I can feel it moving along the hand. If I close my hand over, that yarn's not going anywhere. It acts a bit like a gear stick for me. It just makes sure that I've got control of the yarn and it's not got control of me. And that's it. So why don't you go off and have a little go, and I will finish off the rest of this, and I will catch you in a bit once I've hunted out my lazy Kate, and we will ply it up. Okay.
Close your eyes for a minute. Close your eyes for a minute, close your eyes for a second. I won't change my mind. Water's getting deep now, water's getting deep now. Follow me around, yeah. Can you let me down? Please don't let me down. Yeah, 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 yeah. Baby, let me down. Can you let me down? Please don't let me down. Please don't let me down. Yeah, 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 yeah.
So there we go. That's one coarse spun with a strips of a batt, an art batt, and it's been coarse spun onto a mohair polyester yarn or whatever it was. I can't remember now. But this one here, this is something I did ages ago, and that's a coarse spun yarn as well, and it's just been sat on one of my spare bobbins, sat there for months and months and months. And it's practically lost its energy. I could probably still ply that up onto something, but essentially you can leave it where it is, stick it in the sink, do a hot cold wash, so into a bowl of frigid cold water, and have your sink ready with some hot water in it, and once it's completely soaked in the cold water, throw it straight into the hot water, and that will semi-felt it. Personally, I would just steam set it and then leave it to hang, and that'll help take out any last remaining bits of energy in there, and you can do a project straight from this. Leave it as a single coarse spun, no problem whatsoever. Okay, so I've got my bobbin. I'm going to stick it on my lazy K. If I could just find my prongs. What have I done with that other one now? I did have it. There it is, right in front of me. So make sure that I've got my bobbin the right way round. On mine, on the Kroening ones, see those little nodules at the back? When I was first doing spinning wheel, I was forever getting my bobbin back to front, and I know that once it's on the wheel there's a noticeable difference, but when you're plying you forget those bits of information. So I always make sure that when I'm spinning that the bottom or the back of my bobbin that usually sits at the back end of my flyer, that sits on this end of my bobbin. And I do have a little cross, but on these Kroening bobbins they have these little notches in the back, which I find really helpful to remind me. If it was sat on my Prelude spinning wheel downstairs, it has a lazy case at the side of it, and I always make sure that that is standing upright for me when it's on one of the arms, and then I know I'm going to be spinning it in the right way instead of spinning it in the Z direction when I've already spun it in the Z direction, and what I really needed to do was do it in the opposite direction. So it's just a really nice little reminder for me personally. You don't have to, but it's always a little tip I say to people. Just stick a little cross on the end of your bobbin, so you remind yourself exactly where it needs to go. I just need to find the end. There we go. Have the end. Now, I'm just going to... Oh, I need to go this way, don't I? Just going to wind this up because I've got metres and metres of the stuff. I don't need a gigantic leader like that so far. And I'm just going to put that in there. Now, what am I going to use for plying it with? Bear with me a second. I think I'm going to use... Not that one. Do you know, you can never find the yarn you want to play with. No, not that one neither. Right, I'll just stick with the mohair. I was looking for my pink acrylic cone, and at the top of my head I can't find it. It was there earlier on. No, it's not behind there. That's my weaving cones. It's done a walkabout. Typical. Right, well, I'll just use this then. So stick with what I know, which is the one that I've coarse spun it with, and I'll get that in there, and I'm going to do coils and spiral on this. So I've got two different effects that I'll be getting from the wool. I will just get that down there, push my basket back a little bit, move my laser K over to the side of the floor with me, and I'm going to start. So again, this core spun singles in my hand, and I'm just gonna let it wind itself on there like we were doing with the thick and thin yarns a couple of weeks ago on episode 9. I'm doing the exact same thing now. Now what you can do is slow down your wheel and push those up there so they become a really tight coil. There goes my dogs to go and kill the postman. There we go. And I'm going to stop my wheel down and push those up so they turn into really, really tight super coil. I'm going to keep that going, and again at a 90-degree angle like we spoke about before, and just let that wool go on there and get some nice big lumpy bits and push those up. And again, push that up. Just let my wheel slow down a little bit, push that up. So you're getting really rigid coils in there. It's not loose and fancy free. There we go. You just let that bounce. I don't want it to come any further than the edge of my finger. Okay, keep it at that angle, and again I'm just going to let that go so far. I'm going to push those and bunch them up together. And then push them up and bunch them up together. Hold a second. Oh, wrong way. Okay. So alternatively, you can just bring the yarn right down as if you were just spinning, and you'll end up with these really lovely spirals. Spirals in your yarn. And I'll just do a section and pull it out so you can see close up. So you get that sort of wavy consistency, which can be quite pretty. You can do that for a little bit longer. So you end up with really softer coils that are really quite loose, and this is where the steam in your yarn after you've plied comes in really handy, because I always find that if I was put them in the sink, I sometimes feel like I've lost that texture. There we go. So I've done a little bit in that wonky spiral, and then I'll go back to doing some closer coils. And it's just about moving your hand around at different angles to see what effect you really want your yarn to look like. So I'm just going to push that up. Let it land on the end of my finger. It's got nice loose and bouncy coils all gathered up together. As I say, I'm using my finger to make sure it doesn't overrun and go too far. And I've got control of the core yarn again by doing it like this. Just let my art yarn sit on the edge. Flaming dog's got a letter. She always picks up these flaming letters. I have to get it off her in a minute before she rips it apart. So there we go. So if I do that again and then just push that up, and again push that section up, and make these really intense coils. And push that up. Hold on a second, I need to go and run off and catch a letter. Right, honestly, I feel like these animals have been sent to kill me off with an heart attack. Right, where's this? What's happened with this now? Hold on a second. There we go. It's spun back on itself. Get myself out of this tangle. Right, and we'll go again. I'm just going to move my flyer up a little bit. You can see how chunky this has got now. I'm going to do a bit more of that spiral. So just down like I would normally do if I was just spinning or plying two yarns together, and you get this really, really pretty effect, especially if you've got, say, like you're plying using a boucle yarn as your core yarn, and you for plying like this, then you'll get pops of that sticks through, and it looks really, really pretty. You can do the same effect like this with singles. If you spun up a bobbin full of singles, go and find yourself a really, really thin yarn like this, and just do a spiral ply, and you get a really lovely effect that you can actually make the most gorgeous, pretty patterns for knitting with. And it gives you a completely different look and a different type of weight to your wool as well. It'll knit up completely differently from plying two yarns the same thickness. But if you're using a chunky yarn with a thin yarn, you will get this spiral effect. There we go. So I've done quite a bit in that. There we go. Look at that. So you're literally just using the same action as you would plying two usual singles together, and I'm going to come out of that and I'm going to come back in for doing my coils. So push that up and make some really super coils. And again, I'm just going to let that spin out a little bit more. Push that up. Push that section up. You can get the coils effect like this, exactly the same as you would do with your slub yarn, your thick thin yarn that you did before when you were practicing. You just push your coils up together and it just creates a really intensive section of very thick squashed up fibre. And you could, if you wanted to, do that super coil all the way along your yarn if you really wanted to. There you go. And just keep going on and on. So I'll get on with this. I've got about half a bobbin left, so I'll see you in a bit.
Close your eyes for a minute, close your eyes for a second. I won't change my mind. Water's getting deep now, Water's getting deep now. Follow me around. Yeah. Can you let me down? Please don't let me down. Yeah, 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 yeah. Baby, let me down. Can you let me down? Please don't let me down. Please don't let me down. Yeah, 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 yeah. Close your eyes for a minute. Close your eyes for a second. I won't change my mind. Water's getting deep now. Water's getting deep now. Follow me around. Yeah. Can you let me down? Please don't let me
Okay, so there we go. You have now got a core spun wool that's been spun. You core spun it from about top of roving, and then you've then gone and plied it up again, but you've done it at a 90-degree angle, and you should end up with these spirals. And then if you push your fibres up together, you'll end up with these really big lumpy bits of super coils all squash up together, and you can do your yarn exactly like that all the way through if that's what you want to do. These are the looser sections where I've just plied it straight on as usual. You get these lovely little wavy pieces, and I've done lots of spiral yarns with singles, and I've crocheted with them, and I've ended up making the most loveliest lightweight blanket for babies. So yeah, that's that one done. As I said, that'll go on steam set later on. This is the core spun single. It's just been sat on the bobbin for months, completely forgot it was on there, and that I can quite easily just go from steam set that, and I can work with that as it is. And this is the core spun thick thin yarn that we did 2 weeks ago. So there you go. So 3 different styles of core spun yarn for you to go off and play in practice. Definitely, I'll stick those books that I've got in my descriptions below. If you'd like to contribute to me, on my main screen on my YouTube account there is a link to my Ko-fi account if you'd like to buy me a coffee, because a lot of work goes into doing these videos, and it would really help me put some money aside for buying supplies for doing these videos instead of taking out my stock, because I am a business after all, and it would be really appreciated if you wanted to do that. And then I can actually buy things in that we can experiment with, or buy fibres that are a little bit out of my price range but can help contribute towards buying those, and I can do breed studies on those later on. So there, yeah, that's it today. So I have got a couple of announcements while I catch you here. I am up to 500 followers. I have been doing YouTube since March 20, I'm sure it's March 20 I've been doing these videos for. Or 22, no, definitely, I think it was beginning of COVID, round about that time, thanks to encouragement of a lot of my regular customers. Because I started off doing my Instagram live chats, and then I was asked to start doing YouTubes. So that's how I ended up on here. Yeah, so my announcement is, if you catch next week's live chat on my YouTube channel, and if you put a comment below, subscribe, as I say, like the video and comment below, then you will be put into a draw for a £15 off your order from my website on Woolly Cottage, and that's open to all of my customers no matter where you live, okay, whether you're overseas or the UK or in Europe. The voucher will still apply. I need the names, the comments below, so I know who to contact afterwards. It was the fairest way I think I could put it, to be able to do something as a thank you. So yeah, you've got to like, you've got to subscribe, and you've got to leave a comment below next week's live chat. Either go on to the live chat or catch it the next day when it's uploaded and leave your comment below on there, okay? Also, it's Tour de Fleece. It's time for Tour de Fleece. Get prepared for your competitions, your races, your challenges for yourself, your teams that you might be in, and you're looking for ideas. I'm just going to drop in a couple of picture images. So I did a vote at the other weekend, but it completely went Pete Tong. I tell you, not rocket science. And you sort of drove me batty on Sunday. Saturday I did a live post, and I mentioned it on my live chat, and it was two themes. There was opalescent, which is pictures of below now, and there was 4 different pictures to give you an idea of where we were going, and there was sea glass with 4 different pictures of the colours I'll be using. So what it is those colours for either one of those categories will be the colours that I'll be using on, and you'll have 4 choices is what it was. It didn't go to plan. Last year it worked out so much better, but obviously I've given you far too many options, so it ended up being a draw. So if you go over to my website, I have 2 different colour options, well, 2 colour themes that we'll go with. So you've got sea glass and you've got opalescent. In each one of those categories, you have got A, B, C and D images, which is what your will be dyed by. It's just an inspiration. So it's sea glass, you're looking whites, and there's been lots of natural colours come through, as well as hints and dashes of other colours, depending on which picture you've gone for. And the other one's opalescent, and again, that has 4 colours that you can choose from, all depending on your tastes. Some of those will be neons in the opalescent, or hints of neons, or pastel neons, just to get the right effect. I understand, she's sniffing my chair. Also, you have to choose between 100 gram roving or a 200 gram roving, and it'll be a merino blended. It could be merino tencel, merino bamboo, merino soya. What else is there? Merino's sea glass, maybe, if I can get a hold of it. Sea glass, sea cell, that sort of thing along those themes. And the other option is for 200 gram batt or a 100 gram batt, again made with merino, with lots of different blends in there, sticking with those theme colours. So they are now available on the website. So go and help yourself, go and order some. If you're overseas, I would advise you to get it ordered as soon as possible. The end date for these orders, I will be closing it on the 10th of June. On the 10th of June, they'll be closed. I won't be taking any more orders for it. It's a limited edition, and then I'll be starting getting ready for my Christmas advents that are coming in, which is the next note. I'm doing the Christmas advent listing a month earlier this year, just to help people out. So it'll be £125, and I'm doing, well, one of them will be £125. I'm doing 3 different options. My usual 24 days of Christmas advent, and 24 days you get 25 grams, okay, all individually wrapped up. Christmas Day you get 100 grams and it will be wrapped up, okay. So you get all that fibre with extras, loads of little bits and pieces, and I always put in something like a craft bag or a project bag or a wrap or something, depending on what I've come up with for an idea, and it's all hand sewn by me and added in for your Christmas Day gift. The extras this year could be anything from artisan, UK artisans that I've bought and supplied stitch markers, or whatever it is that I can find from them. It could be useful things like sewing clips, like these sort of things. It could be packs of those, beads, locks in there, and I'll be doing braids, mini braids and mini batts this year for Christmas Advent for the 24 days plus Christmas Day. The other options will be for 4 Sundays of Advent. So for each of those Sundays on the lead up to Christmas, we'll get a 100 gram batt one Sunday, 100 gram batt another Sunday, 100 gram batt another Sunday, and then the last one another 100 gram batt. That's how I'm doing that this year, and each one will have a little gift inside, but there won't be as many add-ins as you would normally get out of the larger one. The larger one, there'll only be 10 pre-orders available for that. it's just so much work. I ended up with 14 last year, and the video is actually on my channel. I posted the video up, and it takes a lot of work. It takes me about 2.5 months to get all together and get the stock all in place, and that's reminding people that they've got to settle, because I do instalment plans for that as well, hence I'm doing it a month early. And the instalment plan is so next month it'll be open from June, and you will have a deposit, non-refundable deposit, to hold your place, and that will initially order practically all the stock that I need for yours and the extras. Then it'll be 2 further payments. They're usually due by the first week of the following month, depending on when you've ordered. So usually it'll be the 5th of June is when I'm going to open up the listings on the website. So if you place your order by then, you will receive your next invoice on the 5th of July, and then the 5th of August. And you've got about a week or so to pay that, and then it's out the way. And it means that you're all paid off for September. If you find that you're having a month where you find it a little bit difficult, just reach out to me. You can skip that month, and then you can, well, say August for talking's sake, and I will get the money off you in the beginning of September. Just makes it easier for you if you're having any problems or whatever. I'm quite happy to accommodate that, but that gives you a month gap if you really, really need it. But you need to get in touch with me and let me know that you're having an issue. Not a problem, we've all had it. And then the third one for Christmas is another Advent, and I'm going to do 100 gram skeins of yarn, and the topic for this year's theme will be Joseph and his Technicolor Dreamcoat is where we're going. So there'll be semi-solid, the rovings and the bats and things, the larger ones, the 4 Sundays of Advent. They will have the exact same, they'll have the same colours in, but with the yarns will be maybe specklings and with splashes of colour, maybe a grading or something like that throughout, and it'll be a little bit different, that you could put an entire project together, but it'll be on the same colour theme as everybody else. Those ones will be listed for a little while longer, but with the larger one, it will close once I reach 10 pre-orders. I just can't take any more. The others I will keep open because it's easy to keep up with those until probably the end of September, maybe October. We'll see how we go. So yeah, so you've got your Tour de Fleece, go and get your orders in quickly. You've got the Christmas Advents, they're getting released next month. And you have your 24 days of 25 grams plus your 100 grams of Christmas Day with extras wrapped up, gift wrapped, everything, the works. You have 4 days of Advent, 4 times 100 gram batts. And that'll have one of my project bags or whatever it is that I make. And so will the 4 times 100 skeins of yarn for Christmas Advent. So I'm giving a couple of auctions out there this year. But yeah, that's what you've got coming. So don't forget to tune into live next week, or to watch it on pre-record on Thursday. Hit that like, make that subscribe, and leave a comment down below, and then I can pick the names and put them into a hat, and I will announce that on the following live chat as to who's won, because I will get all the names in a hat, because I have got a hat, and I will pick them out live on my live chat. Okay, and then I can got a way of getting in touch with you, message you, and I can get your details from you. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully it's not too long-winded. I need to go off and edit this now, and then I've got walking the dogs. Don't want to say it too loud, they'll go loopy. Right, I'm off. Take care of yourselves. I'll catch you on Instagram on Saturday about lunchtime for another chat, and I will be giving this information out on my live chat as well, just in case you've missed it. And I will, if you can't be good, don't get caught. I'll see you later. Have a good week, everybody, and a lovely bank holiday weekend if you're in the UK. Bye.